Airbus has a 10-year order backlog. They want to scale and make way more planes, but they move at the pace of their slowest part. With a backlog of 8,754 aircraft and only making 766 in 2024, things are about to get turbocharged. Today we'll open up the engine, take a look at the three sectors that power them, head up to cruising altitude and take a look at the aircraft industry overall, run through their performance, take a deep dive into the future of flying, and end it off by seeing what might keep them cruising in first place or send them into a nosedive. Let's start off hot with the biggest engine in the aircraft business, commercial aircraft. In the family of four, the A220 is the adopted little brother. They bought it from Bombardier and it seats 160 people for 3,400 nautical miles. And while it can go this far, it's usually used for way shorter flights. They are way ahead compared to the same time last year, but starting in the year 2026, they want 168 planes popping off the runway every single year. Next up is the A320 family. This is their flagship. Their newest model is the 321 XLR and it has some insanely high specs. In 2024, they delivered 602 A320 planes, and they have a goal of producing 900 planes by 2027. Unfortunately, compared to the same time last year, they've actually ended up producing fewer planes. Here's what the CEO had to say about that.
We have aircraft ready, already technically accepted, then you wait for something to be resolved and you have a large number of deliveries. And it will be very backloaded this year. So we expect a very strong Q4. And therefore a Q3 that will put us in this backloading situation for Q4.
The reason is engines. They just simply do not have enough. One of their suppliers had a strike, among other factors, but once they do get their engines, they can just put it in, screw it in, close the hood, and go. They still do expect to reach their 2025 full-year guidance of 820 aircraft. Starting with the A330, we are stepping into the wide-body aircraft. It has two aisles and it can carry more people way further. They've sold about the same compared to the same time last year, and they do intend to boost production starting in 2029. But the biggest bird that they have for sale is the A350. It can carry 480 people for 9,000 nautical miles. Deliveries match last year's numbers, but they do want to boost production starting in 2028. The biggest aircraft before the A350 was the A380. It was loved by Emirates and so many passengers because you got so much space. Airbus built it thinking as air travel became more popular, airports would run out of space, and so airlines would be required to pack on more passengers per flight. But that didn't materialize because they just made more airports and made the existing airports bigger. Combine that with airports needing specific infrastructure to handle the A380, and the fact that it used so much gas compared to the efficient twin-engine models, airlines didn't really like it that much. Because fuel costs are 20 to 40% of airline operating expenses, so airlines want the new planes that enter their fleet to be more fuel efficient. I mean, look at this graph. This shows us the prices paid per kilometer of air travel, and over time, it's gone way down. Better engines allowed the A350 to exist, and it put the final nail in the coffin for the A380. Next up, helicopters. Airbus makes models for just about any mission, transferring injured patients, fighting fires, tracking cars on the highway, zipping across town for a meeting, even dropping a strike team. In 2024, they delivered 631 helicopters, further cementing their 57% market share. With strong demand for models like the H225, and then there's the Racer, a high-speed chopper that can hit speeds of 440 kilometers an hour. That's bullet train fast. For defense and space, they are an integral part in the Eurofighter aircraft, specifically the fuselage and the right wing, not the left wing. They don't make that. Their ranges can be extended with these giant tankers to refuel them midair. They even have targeting systems with UAVs, satellites, and through joint ventures, they have missile systems. In 2024, they pulled in 12.1 billion euros, with the defense segment playing a bigger part in the space segment, because right now, pretty recently, it's been quite weak. Now let's take a look at the industry's future needs. Airbus projects that the world will need 43,000 new aircraft in service by 2044. These take time to build and will need to be planned out far in advance. 34,250 of these will be single-aisle aircraft, while the other 9,170 will be wide-bodied. The driver? Well, as the global middle class grows by an estimated 1.5 billion people, more will want to travel. Seeing how planes have gone 54% more fuel efficient since the 1990s, and I'm sure will continue to progress, I'm excited to see what the future holds in store for us. But the skies aren't empty. There's another guy. His name is Boeing. I'm not too sure if you've heard of him, but he won't let Airbus make all of these planes by himself. He wants a piece too. Now, I won't compare everything that they do, but I'll start with their 737 MAX series versus the Airbus A320s. Both companies use similar engines. Airbus uses the LEAP 1A and Boeing uses the LEAP 1B. They'll have minor differences, and Airbus can also use another company's engines called Pratt & Whitney's, and they will also perform similarly compared to the CFM engines. CFM, by the way, is the company that makes the LEAP 1B and LEAP 1A. Where Airbus pulls ahead though is cost, efficiency, and perceived safety, especially given the recent headlines. Still, both are very safe, the difference being a few hundredths of a million flights. Round 2. Financials. Boeing was hit really hard by the pandemic and the crashes of the 737 MAXs. Their debt levels are far higher than Airbus's, and they have been losing money for years at this point. But right now, their focus is on turning the company around. We'll see if they do that. Round 3, backlog. Airbus is at 8.7 thousand, while Boeing is at 6.6 thousand. Even though Airbus's backlog is bigger, their production rates are also higher, so they'll get through it faster in only 10.7 years compared to Boeing's 11 plus. They want to ramp that up even more, but you move at the pace of your slowest part. And if you need 8 screws to screw something in, don't start saying that, 6 is kind of enough. No, stay on the ground. Please. Now that we've gone over the industry, let's talk financials. In fiscal 2024, they made 69 billion euros, which is up 6% compared to the year before. Over the longer term, it has fluctuated, peaking in 2019 before a little virus happened. Hopefully that does not happen again, and halfway through 2025, they sit at 30 billion compared to last year's 29. Going through their expenses, we see that they spend the most on actual production, with a big chunk going to research and development, which I love to see it. In 2024, net income ends up being 4.2 billion euros, around the same as 2022, but a 12% increase from 2023. Their 2025 half-year results are 1.5 billion compared to 825 million a year before, although we'll see if maybe that picks up on the back end. Stock performance-wise, they have returned 150% over the past 5 years, compared to Boeing's 27% and the S&P at 89%. They also do pay a dividend of 1.1%, and they have announced a special dividend given their insane profits this time around. Given Boeing's financial situation, they don't pay a dividend this time. They haven't paid it since 2020, and it probably won't be for a decent chunk of time. Airbus's forward PE ratio is at 26, while Boeing's is at 37, which does tell us that investors do expect Boeing to have more growth or more profits in the future. Their CEO is this man, Guillaume Faury. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced your name. But anyways, this guy, he's not just the boardroom guy. He got an engineering degree, then worked as a test flight engineer for the French military, before finally joining Airbus in 2013 and getting promoted to CEO 6 years later. Under his leadership, Airbus isn't just building planes, they're also pushing forward the next generation of aviation technology. One of those is SAF, or Sustainable Aviation Fuels. They are biofuels that can be made from literal garbage. Although the most common method is HEFA, which is cooking oils, animal fats, etc. These biofuels already work with the existing fuels in a 50-50 blend today, and they are working on reaching 100% by the 2030s. However, there are 2 roadblocks in the way. First, price. These biofuels cost between 2 and 5 times the price of regular fuel, so that's a very tough sell in an industry that cares the most about efficiency. The other obstacle is while its use is encouraged, there simply isn't enough supply. Today, it only makes up about 0.53% of jet fuel needs. And due to the price premium, there will likely be some hesitancy about scaling up production too much. Another sustainable option is their Zero-E aircraft, a hydrogen-powered plane with electric propulsion systems. Their first test flight was a success, and now they're fitting this system on an A380 as its testbed. Now, we don't know which plane they will actually end up using, but it's expected to come to service in 2035. Although hydrogen isn't the only futuristic aircraft that they're testing. They're also exploring an open fan design that might be 20 to 30% more efficient than current models. Although all we have right now is a literal drawing, so let's not make any judgments quickly. Shifting altitude to a SWOT analysis, starting off with strengths, Airbus is one of the only airplane manufacturers that airlines feel comfortable buying from. The barriers to entry for this industry are sky high, because you need to have a fantastic safety record and an intense amount of capital to manufacture even a single plane. Demand is not a problem. There is no shortage of orders, and they are constantly performing R&D to improve their aircraft. They can even squeeze out a little extra value by converting passenger planes to freight aircraft nearing the end of the service, and through a dedicated A350 for cargo. Weaknesses wise, they are facing many supply chain issues, like with their engines, that can easily just throw off their entire schedule. They also want to quickly close the deal with Spirit Aerosystems, which makes critical parts for the A350 and A220, so that way they can stabilize their supply chain, improve quality, However, that has been delayed due to regulators. Opportunities-wise, Airbus can ramp up production to meet the growing demand for air travel. Since newer aircraft are more fuel efficient, airlines will be excited to buy them so that they can save money over the lifetime of the plane. There's also the possibility of self-flying planes. Airbus has already demonstrated the ability to take off, fly, land, and taxi autonomously. The technology is real and pedestrians and stop signs aren't exactly a concern at 30,000 feet. While right now there's a lot of hesitancy as self-driving for cars become more popular and reduces accidents, people may start to rethink this problem. Threats. If another virus were to impact the world, they would face significant losses. The threat of cyber attacks as planes get more and more advanced is also growing annually too. There are also some competitive threats because behind Embraer in third is Comac. While they're still way behind, they have state support and are improving fast. Their C919, which is equivalent to the Airbus A320 and 737 MAX, went from 2 deliveries in 2023 to 13 in 2024. That's an estimate. But either way, they need to learn from Tesla, who underestimated BYD and then could only watch as they surpass them to become the #1 EV manufacturer in the world. Because just because they aren't there yet doesn't mean they won't be soon. Looking at Yahoo Finance, it seems that most analysts are giving us the green light to board. Remember, this is not financial advice. I'm just bringing up information from documents and other sources to the surface so you don't have to go searching around for all that. Well, that's Airbus, the aircraft manufacturer. If you want to see an older video I did about Boeing, check that out. If not, hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see me again. Anyway, people, goodbye.